They gave me the name Kwaku because I was born on a Wednesday. That's what the Ghanaians named me. Um, one of the things is traveling the world. What I see with Africans is natural resource, not just under the ground, but in the intelligence of African people. I see the intelligence and the inspiration, and I see the innovations that Africans can have with the right amount of resource. Okay. Look at the WAEC conference, which is 10 times more knowledgeable than their so-called SATs. Okay, in terms of mathematics. Remember, we developed it as African people, whether it's the Dogon or whether it's the Lemombo bone or the Ishango bone. We have the ability to be so advanced, yet as so-called African Americans, we've allowed ourselves to be colonized. Now, I went to the natural resource. Now let's go to United Snakes. That's the most liquid place on the planet right now is America. Okay, when I say liquid, I'm not just talking money. You've got access, opportunity, information. You've got connectivity. It's the most liquid place that you can get anything and everything done in a heartbeat. The fact that Africans have resource and their cousins on the American continent have the liquidity, that is a marriage made in heaven that even God would sit back and go ahead and take a back seat to. You have one one constituent that has everything that the world wants, needs, can't do without, and ready to kill for it. Whether it's coltan, whether it's gold, whether it's concrete, whether it's so it doesn't matter. Africa's resources. Then you have on the other, you have someone who's living where the exploiters are at that take advantage because they understand liquidity. They understand the importance of information, of connectivity. The thing that is more important if African so-called Americans want to stop complaining about what others do is to go ahead and find out how can we connect with those that are us, i.e. Africans, and we could create our own institutions. We could create our own mechanisms, our own infrastructure to make sure that we work as together to maximize our potential, our resources, and our lives as African people. Hopefully that answers your question.
But sir, how are we going to do that with the same people that own goddamn United States pretty much conquer Africa? That's why everybody over here. And shouldn't we be telling them that? You know what I'm saying? Shouldn't we be going over there and telling them that? And they not coming over here because as you know, we don't have that much, you know what I'm saying? The white tea people run this place. I don't care who you are. You know what I'm
So,
saying?
one,
We doing the thing.
are you aware that there's only um, maybe at an estimate there's less than 3 million Africans in America? 3 million out of almost 360 million.
Okay, but
Um,
how many is already
90,
out here in Africa?
yeah, 90. That's what I was getting to next.
Yeah.
Africa is 54 countries with a population of almost 1.5 billion with a B people. There's less than 0.004% of that has left the continent of Africa, not just the US, like the entire that have left the entire continent. And this includes diplomats, contract nurses in the UK, people that have ancestry, so with a connection to people in the Caribbean. For whatever reason, they've gone to other parts of the world, educational. Some came here for school.
I have to disagree with you
Well,
because
these are facts. So
I was doing a live earlier, breaking down the debate between Frank Zanu, Dave Anderson, and the three stooges behind there, the FBA crew. you know. So you can't really take anyone serious that refers to themselves as FBA, as you know. No grown man, would go on the internet and see somebody concoct, some acronyms and they all follow it. That's right then and there, that's in itself, it's laughable, right? For me, as you know, Nana, I give it straight like it is. When people, come, blacks in America, they say unite with Africa. There's nothing to unite on. We're not the same people. We have nothing in common. The only thing we have in common is skin color. So the question is, when they say we unite, what are we going to unite on? What are we going to be trading? What is the value? What is our world view? Even like if you look at it in Africa, even ourselves, like the nations, we have different ethnic groups. We trying to manage that to see how we can work that out. Things are getting better, but it's not perfect. Over here in America, the blacks themselves, mind you, it should be easier for them to unite with each other since they have a common language. So that confusion is out of there. Um, they have a common, culture now. So which they is easy to identify. I'm just observing things and looking at it and telling it exactly like it is. Because a language, it's easier to unite around that. So that's why I always ask them, what are we going to unite on? Like today, even in my debate, I was breaking down the guy who's supposed to be the so-called FBA intellectual. He can be taken serious because he said he's an intellectual, but you are going off of an internet guy who didn't even finish high school, that came up with some acronyms, because he started off with the ADOS, the ADOS people, then he went and branched off of those guys. I literally watched all this unfold online. So the argument that most like to do to say it is white people or whoever separating Africans and blacks, no, nobody's doing that. It's just natural, Yes, the blacks here, they're of African descent, meaning their ancestors came from Africa. But, you know, um, I can't say, they are my people because, like, we can pinpoint where they came from now. What tribe are they from? What is their customs? What is their culture? You see? So I know these are uncomfortable things that people don't want to address, but that's just a fact. If they say, let's unite, what are we uniting around? Skin color is not enough. Everybody in Africa, we from the black factory. Everyone is black over there. So the issue is not that. And, for me personally, and I know most people outside of America, when you come in here, you're coming to a white country. That's a fact, right? You come into a white country and, you know, like there's no ifs and buts about that, because if I was looking to go to a black country, like I would have gone to Ghana, Nigeria, or even Jamaica where blacks are. But coming to America, I know I'm coming to a white country, and that's okay. So, yeah, nobody's separating us. um it's just nature. um
Let,
you know
let me ask you this. Maybe should the word be, should we be cordial instead of unite? Because I think that's usually those two get mixed up. Should we be cordial,
oh yeah,
or
absolutely,
is that what they're
absolutely.
trying to say by unite?
Right, right, right. I mean, most definitely, like we can, it's good, we guys should be cordial, and individuals, people, try to learn about each other. That's for sure. But then, unity, because what are we uniting on? Most people don't want to answer this question because they know, like, if they spit it out, because some they'll be like, we are all black. Okay, in Africa we're all black. You see what I'm saying? We're all black over
Yeah.
here. In the black neighborhoods, they are all black, but they are not united. So obviously the skin color means nothing, right? People in Asia, Europe, they are united around what? Trade. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's what it is. Like, you got something to trade. Like, the Chinese and Japanese don't like each other, but they trading. You got, Chinese, Japanese companies in China, you know, um, Korea and Japan. Japan colonized the, Koreans, but they're working together. It's not because they love each other. They have something to trade. You see, that's what it is. Even here in the United States and England, same thing. They have something to trade. It's not because they love each other. You see what I'm saying? So it's only blacks that want to run around and telling people we should unite based on skin color, and that's not real. That's not reality. And when they say we're separated by other people, no, 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 it's not other people that separated us. Nature separated us. Nature, because the Africans who were brought here, over time, they lost who they were. Their culture, their language, their values, their mores, and all that, right? So now they just go by skin color. But you and I know that's not realistic. Yeah, individuals can understand each other, but as a group, I don't know about that.
Hopefully, you can hear me.
Yeah, good.
Aphrodimus, you are so correct. Just uniting around skin color, which it should be that way. It's unfortunate that that's not the case. But one thing, as I mentioned earlier, to unite around, and you kind of reinforced what I talked about when you talked about the Asians, is unite around trade. Okay, unite around being able to reinforce each other's strengths and make sure that we can go ahead and mitigate the weaknesses. I brought up everything from the connectivity of liquidity and everything else that America or Western countries have. They're the most liquid places on the earth. Africa does not have that kind of liquidity of access, information, finance, or whatever. But Africa does have resources. And instead of linking or uniting around skin color, you unite in terms of common interest. And that should be to be able to compete against everyone else.
Yeah, but
Clearly,
what's
other
that
nations
common?
and other races know how important Africa is. That's why they're there. When you brought up culture, okay, because this is something that I hear a lot with the FBAs and a lot of African Americans, whatever. Back in the 60s, a professor, I learned this from a professor that culture is a device mechanism handed down through generations for survival. And my mom used to tell me that all the time. All it is, an animal has a culture. It needs to know how to survive. Now, of course, unfortunately, the African American, those that, of course, you might call me one, um, they use culture as a way of it's more entertainment, it's more of an abstract, non really sequitur type of information. It's like, oh, we got the culture, this culture. No, hip hop is not a culture. None of this stuff is a culture because it's not a mechanism handed down through generations for survival. It's for mostly for elevating one's ego. And one thing that I notice about these FBAs or African Americans, whatever, not all of us, but most, is they're very transactional. Here's what I mean. It's always those Africans didn't do this for us. Those Africans, they don't give us. They're taking this. They're taking that. Instead of, in other words, I'll give you even a better example of the most transactional. It came from a song. And I've been in the music business for over 50 years. I've toured with just about every artist that you guys know of. And there was a song by a young lady that I had a chance to work with a little bit. Her name is Janet Jackson. And she had a song called What Have You Done For Me Lately? Not what can I do for you? Not what can I bring to the table is what have I done? What have you done for me? Well, that's the African American mindset. And that comes from the European frame of reference. Again, colonized mind. It's about me, my I. What, you haven't given me this. You haven't done this. You haven't, those Africans did that. Instead of what talents do I have? What do I have that could actually elevate someone else? Okay, even if it's not an African. What do I have to bring to the table? I don't just want to go in there and eat everything. I want to bring something. They call them potluck dinners for a reason. Well, the African American doesn't have that. And I understand why the mentality is not there because you're talking about over 2,000 seasons, almost 600 years of having nothing and still having nothing. Okay, except for whatever someone else gives you because they want to go ahead and they have another agenda. Okay, we'll make a Jay-Z so that way we can put your sons in prison. That's a different agenda. The thing is the African American for 6 centuries has basically everything from language to actual real culture to security to religion. Everything's been taken away. So therefore, the mindset is that of a transactional nature. Gimme, gimme, gimme. It's mine, mine. I'm not giving anything to anyone else. And that's just who we are. I hate to be mean, but I got to be real. African Americans have absolutely no sense of grace or civility when it comes to giving. Okay, unless they're going to get something for it, like, oh, I'm gonna get this. That's why you got gangs. That's why you got hip hop. I mean, it's just that's why you got Tariq Nasheed. So the thing is I've been around in many African countries, okay? And the moment I was there, the only thing that I could think of is what can I give? Because I saw that was in the nature of the African people that I was around. It might not be there with everyone, but it was like, here's what we have to give, not because we want something from you, it's because we want to show you who we are. We want to show you how we live. I saw that when I was in Asia. I was all over. I've been to Asia, you know, dozens and dozens of times. I even saw that in certain areas of Eastern Europe. And I was in the Latin American countries for, like 9 years. And it wasn't a thing of gimme, gimme, gimme as much as it's we want to show you this because we want, you're a foreigner to us, but we want to show you who we are. So we're going to give you this. And many of these folks didn't have anything. They barely had anything. I was in most rural areas, what they would call rural, of certain places around the world, but they just wanted to say, we want to share something with you because, we want to show you who we are. The African American does not have that. And the most important thing to just let Afrodemus know, in terms of uniting, uh, even if it's for the African Americans' own self-interest, which is what most only do, because, look at their comments, it's always me, my, I. They did this to us. They didn't, instead of what can I do? One of the most important things, even if it's for the selfish individuals, is to think, how can I compete? How, instead of complaining about racism and what whites are doing and what can I do to solve this problem? Who can I link up with to solve this problem? And what do I have that actually productive? Not just rhetoric, not just, oh, they don't like us. I don't care if somebody doesn't like me. I don't care if somebody doesn't accept me. If there is something there that we can use together that can make us both competitive, sign me up. Okay, if it's something that, it doesn't matter who it is. If I know that a European or an Asian or something has more competition and what they've done is some resource or some innovation they have or something that they produced, if I could link up with someone who, that doesn't like me, or we don't like he's an African, I don't care. My thing is, how can we both be competitive to outproduce that individual? So hopefully, Academus or Aphrodemus, hopefully that answers your question.